Thanks so much for joining us here at 6. I'm John Adams. A federal judge in Oregon this month ordered a Beaverton man free from ICE detention after Customs and Border Protection officers arrested a man they weren't targeting. Alma McCarty is joining us live outside the federal courthouse with the details tonight. Alma.
Yeah, John, as first reported by the Oregonian, the judge here said that this was a violation of this man's Fifth Amendment due process rights. This is a guy who has been in the United States for 20 plus years with no criminal record. And the judge also said in his ruling that this is another example of an apparent tactic to arrest first, ask questions later. December 3rd, early in the morning. Federal court documents detail how CBP's Alpha Team 1 showed up here looking for a target, a man with a conviction for unlawful possession of meth. They had a photo of said man from 2006 and an address in Beaverton. But according to a federal judge's opinion and order, the man they were seeking no longer lived there. He hadn't for more than a decade. Judge Michael McShane wrote to say that the information relied upon by CBP in the target package was stale would be a remarkable understatement. However, when a different man stepped out of the apartment around 7:45 that morning, officers took him into custody anyway, finding he didn't have lawful status in the U.S. and was a citizen of Mexico. At Portland's ICE facility, court documents detail how officers wrote a warrant for the man's arrest after the fact. He'd been arrested without one. The judge went on to write that this court is becoming all too familiar with the self-apparent tactic of federal officers to arrest first, ask questions later. The crux of the violation of the Beaverton man's due process rights. He was immediately released on December 15th after nearly 2 weeks in ICE custody. His attorney told KGW that this was a very dramatic moment to see him unshackled in the courtroom after the judge had left the bench. Now, we reached out to both DHS and to CBP for a comment on this story, on this whole situation, but at this time, we haven't heard back. John, back to you.
Thanks, Alma. We appreciate your reporting. After a wave of arrests involving undocumented immigrants appearing for routine immigration hearings, a federal judge in San Jose, California, has now temporarily blocked ICE from arresting immigrants at courthouses in that area. The senior attorney for the group that filed the lawsuit said there have been at least 100 arrests at Northern California courts and thousands nationwide.
What ICE and the immigration court system have done betrays the American promise of a fair day in court. Especially when the stakes are this high, it's important that the court stepped in to pause these completely irrational and cruel policies.
Attorneys representing the Department of Justice have argued the courts are an appropriate place for enforcement action, saying those arrests are conducted for safety reasons. They've previously said they intend to appeal the case if necessary, all the way to the Supreme Court. New at 6, dramatic surveillance video of a smoke shop being robbed on Christmas Eve. You can see the crooks ram a car repeatedly into House of Pipes on Southeast 41st and Hawthorne. They then stuffed tens of thousands of dollars worth of products into trash bins before taking off. And this isn't the first time. House of Pipes is a chain with 25 locations in the Portland metro area, and the COO says their stores have been robbed 14 times in 2025 alone.
It's very disheartening, and especially on Christmas Eve, waking up, getting that call at 5:30 in the morning and having to rush to go figure out what's going on. It's tough, it hurts, and there doesn't seem to be an end.
House of Pipes says they will not be bullied out of Portland. They just hope something changes, as they feel there's a lot to be desired from the police response to these incidents. We'll have more on this coming up tonight on KGW News at 11. In your headlines, Portland police continue to investigate 2 separate stabbing incidents and whether there could be a connection between them. They happened around 4 in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. By the time police got on scene, the suspect or suspects had left. They found one stabbing victim near 30th and Broadway and the other near 24th and Hancock. Police ask any witnesses to reach out and share what they know. In Cowlitz County, a man was killed after a tree fell on his tent. The coroner's office was called to a wooded area near Cowlitz Gardens Road and North Pacific Avenue 2 weeks ago. That's northeast of Kelso. They've since identified him as 53-year-old Dennis Anderson. They ruled out his cause of death as accidental, or they have ruled his cause of death as accidental. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office arrested a man earlier this month who allegedly attacked at least 2 people for no reason. Now, this first known case happened November 17th on a TriMet Max train, the second December 10th at the Park Rose Transit Center. Both times, the victims say the suspect, who police have identified as Sincere Hunter, punched them in the face without provocation. He was booked on assault and other charges. In Camas, 2 people have been arrested after they targeted a local business twice. They were stopped on Christmas Eve after their getaway car ran out of gas while they were leaving the scene. The first incident happened a couple days before when James Bailey and Camille Perayo tried to break into the Hickory Restaurant and Bar at Camas Meadows Golf Course. On Wednesday, a Camas officer saw a vehicle blocking traffic that matched the suspect's description.
And the suspects had used some bolt cutters and other burglary tools to break in and steal about $2,000 worth of food items, perishables, seafood and meats and things that are expensive. And all of those items were found in this truck along with the burglary tools as well.
Bailey and Perayo are now facing burglary and theft charges. And in Oregon City, a church remained closed to the public after it caught fire Christmas Day. This is a look at Reformation Covenant Church today, with inspections of the building ongoing. Yesterday, a caller reported seeing smoke coming from the church's roof around 2 in the afternoon. Crews put out the fire without anyone getting hurt, but a Clackamas Fire Battalion chief told us yesterday there is extensive damage to the roof and the inside of the church. Well, let's turn now to weather with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. Matt, what can people expect for the final weekend of the year?
You know what, John? It's actually going to be pretty good. We've got some showers out there right now, and really perhaps the best news and the biggest story weather-wise is what's happening up in the Cascades Timberline. You can see the snow falling there. Good part of the lens is iced over right now for good reason. It's 24 degrees, winds blowing at 29 miles an hour, but there's been about 3 inches of new snow, and there's a winter weather advisory up for the run of the Cascades for upwards of 11 inches of new snow overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. So this is exactly what skiers and lovers of mountain snow want to see. Should be about 8 inches on average up on Mount Hood through tomorrow night, and then the snow ends. And then we've got some great news for the last week of the year. Boy, things really calm down. Everybody's ready for a breather. Got the Cascade snow tonight and tomorrow, but the valleys will clear out. We have a lot of sunshine in the 7-day forecast. That will come, though, with our coldest morning temperatures of the season early next week. Parts of the valleys will be dipping down into the 20s. So yes, we're going to clear things out, calm things down, and catch a break as we finish off 2025.
All right, Matt, that'll be a nice way to end the year. We'll see you later in the show. Washington lawmakers are looking at changing the way the state views drunk driving. A proposal to lower the blood alcohol content threshold from 0.08 to 0.05 has come up in the past, but it didn't have the votes to pass at that time. One DUI crash survivor is joining the campaign, hoping his story could change some minds. Drew Mickelson has more.
Really make sure your heel position is like where the white kind of meets the volume, I think.
Josh Jackman's happy place.
So put your left foot there.
Coaching climbing at Spokane's Wild Wall.
There you go.
20 years ago, he was on the wall.
In between climbs, you have a break. What are you going to do during that break?
Today, Jackman coaches from his wheelchair.
Climb with your eyes.
Offering advice from experience.
And according to the State Patrol report, they were going 86 miles an hour.
In July of 2007, Jackman nearly died.
I remember kind of a loud noise. I can remember feeling hot. And then for me, I wake up in October.
For more than 2 months, he was in a drug-induced coma, recovering from broken bones and internal injuries. The driver who ran into him died upon impact. That man was drunk. Impairment plays a role in more than half of the state's deadly crashes, which have climbed to rates not seen since the 1990s. A bill to lower the state's blood alcohol content threshold from 0.08 to 0.05 will be debated again in Olympia next year. Utah is the only state with that level, but more than 150 countries, including parts of Canada and Mexico, use that standard. State and federal research suggests there is impairment at 0.05. What does it take to get to that level? Well, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says for drivers on an empty stomach over a 2-hour period, for a male, somewhere between 3 and 4 drinks, and for a female, more like 2 or 3 drinks. According to newly released research from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, when people were first surveyed about the law change, 54% supported it. But after learning more about what lowering the BAC could mean, 71% were on board.
It's not like a huge cultural shift to get people on board with this.
Josh Jackman thinks tougher laws and a lower threshold might have prevented his crash.
It's not going to change consumption, and it's not intended to. It's going to change your driving behavior. And you're like, oh, 0.05, huh? Not 0.08? Oh, let's make a plan before we go out. Then you want to get as much as your body over that heel.
For Jackman, coaching climbing gives him a chance to support his community. He looks at backing this push for a tougher DUI law the same way.
That community, and this is, this is also a part of community. How we choose to be responsible for each other, how we take care of each other, how we protect each other.
Washington's breweries and wineries and the Hospitality Association oppose the change, saying it'll scare people from wanting to go out. Other legislatures argue the state should focus on tougher laws for repeat offenders.